I met Rod the first time about 45 years ago in Las Vegas. I was introduced to him through Eric Drake, and at the same time I also met the Dunce at that time. And the person who was the intermediary, the reason I met Rod was because there was a fellow poker player named A.J. Myers, Al Myers, and Al started playing high-stake poker, stud, I guess around 75, 76 in Las Vegas. And the reason Al found, he loved, I used to play with Al all the time in a private club in Beverly Hills for about 30 years. We played in a 10-20 game every day, 6 days a week. And then Al started, he was basically a crap shooter in Las Vegas. And once he met Eric, somehow he met Eric, and he started playing stud, and they were playing as high as 400, 800 at times. And through Al, I used to go down, and Al always wanted me to come there and sit with him. So on the weekend, a couple of times I went down and I was with him. And that's how I actually met Rod. And the first time I actually met Rod was in a room at the Binions. They were playing, I think it was an old Baccarat table or something. They were playing poker on it. It was Rod, Eric, Chip Reese, Roger Moore, a whole bunch of guys. So I go back with Rod from the time, I wasn't with him during the Sahara days. I met him actually in the Dunes days when he was playing at the Dunes. And Jeff Sando became a very good friend of mine. As you know, he passed away it's almost 15 years now. And that's how we basically started becoming friendly. And as you know, Rod was a no bullshit kind of a guy. He just said it straight. What you see is what you get. Rod never lied about anything, never glorified anything. And I have to tell you, I don't think anybody in 7-stud poker ever put more hours and endured more bad beats than Rod Pardee. And never threw the cards, never cursed, never got out of line. The only time I'd ever see him a little bit upset was with dealers or the floor men when they made a stupid decision or they made a mistake. Other than that, I never saw him go off on anybody. And Rod had a very sharp sense of humor, and we were social friends. And I played a lot of poker with him, but he didn't talk much during a poker game. And this went on for years and years. I've known Rod, I said 45 years, and then I started playing with in LA about 15 years ago. And Rod's health was failing at the end, and I used to talk to him all the time about, take care of yourself, because he had a stroke one time, and unfortunately, his health was failing. So everybody that knew him, we kind of knew the time was coming near, and I just wanted to let his children know and his mother that he really loved his family very, very much, and always spoke. I never heard him say anything bad really about anybody. It wasn't his style. He was just a really honest person that way, and I have some great memories. We shared a meal in Las Vegas about 2-3 years ago with Rod Jr. at a Japanese restaurant, and I ate with him. He used to like to eat at the Dal Rey near Commerce, and he loved to eat. Other than playing poker, that's what he liked to do, and he did it his whole life. I guess from the time he was around 21. So he did it for over 50, 54, 55 years. And it's what he liked to do. He bet sports, as you know, and he liked horses. And I went with him. I took him as my guest to the Breeders' Cup about 3 years ago at Santa Anita. And I knew kind of then he wasn't really well, because he really had a hard time walking from the car into the racetrack. And he was laboring, and I could see he was not really in good shape. And that was about 3 years ago. But I was glad to get him out of the casino, because outside of playing cards, he hardly would ever leave the casino. So I just want to leave you with a couple of stories, funny stories with Rod was involved with. I guess it was the days, I'm guessing this was probably in the 90s. He was playing at the Mirage then, and he was in the sports book one day, and he told me this funny story. Stu Younger was running around telling everybody he wanted $1,000 on a horse, but he didn't want to pick the horse. He says, any track you want, you pick the horse, and my $1,000 is on that. So Rod said, I don't think I'm going to get paid. So he says, you got to give me the $1,000. So Stewie gave him the $1,000, and Rod studied and studied the race. Was it some obscure track? Might have been Delaware or someplace. And Rod picked the horse, and he didn't want to put like a 50 or 100 to 1 because then he would be stuck for that kind of money, and he didn't want to do a favorite because, he's not getting that much. So he picked the 10 to 1 shot that he was sure could not win the race. Well, I think you all know the end of the story. The horse won the race, and Rod was stuck about 10,000. And I just say it just as a humorous story. And everybody knew Stewie, so he was just crazy out of his mind anyway. So I know I'm going to make this short because I know there's a lot of people that are going to speak at this memorial. And my prayers are with him and his family. And as you know, a lot of people have passed away from the poker world in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And I'm sure they're getting together to put another game together wherever they are in heaven. And thank you for the time you gave me to pay my respects and my condolences to everybody regarding Rod. Thank you. Goodbye.